So this is some of the early work for Quantum Bell, and this is one of the first areas really got a chance to work on and start to understand. And this area has an unusual condition where some longitudinal lines were put under the houses, and that's deployed from at least 3 locations. This particular home it's been retrofitted in a specific way, and relative to the other homes, what I'm trying to do is maintain for the occupants here what's difficult to maintain for some of the other occupants in the particular community. I started with the power box. I've gone across the telephone communications, and I've also gone across the cable systems and satellite systems attached to the home. There's also a concern for metal fencing, and there's also an array which I constructed almost on the fly, which is a 600-foot array. And I'm going to go through step by step on how I did this. Now, the issue is that during this time of conflict, either a combination of U.S. government agents or foreign assailants, or a combination of even domestic militants or criminals have deployed these problems under these homes. Some of the problems to solve are curious to these communities. These homes are required by the state of Florida to have a 8-foot or 6-foot storm strap times 8 or more, or 6 or more, deployed under their homes and into the ground, of which the police department inserts a line under the home and uses the straps to fry the occupants. So the first problem to solve was how to prevent the electricity coming in from the straps on the home and also under the schools. Like, for example, when the departments put it in under the elementary schools and the high schools, the field is not connected, the lines are not connected to anything at the site, and it uses the copper piping or the electrical wiring to induct a charge onto the house wiring and to affect the occupants. So one method that I'm using at Quantum Bell is to refuse this problem to the occupants of a specific home. And at the moment, this is the only home on the block that doesn't have such a uniform effect as applied across a group of Florida Department of Law Enforcement agents and criminals from Orlando and Tampa and around the United States. So the second problem is an airborne energy, and then as part of my Quantum Bell research, I've recognized a way to ground and capture some of this energy and also to dump it in a specific way, whereas some persons would argue it's almost impossible to dump a radio load. I would allege that it is possible to dump a radio load based on some of the research that I've done and some of the activities that I've contributed to over here. As far as the power meters, some of these issues present a specific issue where they're MAC addressed and they have ELF or VLF coils, which is extra low frequency and very low frequency for specific forms of communication or measurement as applied either across longitudinal or other trencher lines deployed methods in the area. So this particular home has a curious problem where it's got about 10 to 13 lines on average active under this home, depending on who's operating, from the United States Armed Forces to German Armed Forces, or England or Russia, or from Saudi Arabia. This particular area where I'm working, this is where the 9/11 of 2001 hijackers trained and lived prior to those flights against the United States of America. And one of the radioactive communication networks, and of course across other problems like geoengineering and et cetera, are applied to these communities. And these guys, before they flew against the United States, went around and deployed this stuff against our country, and did so in accordance with other countries or militaries that they were cooperating with. And some of the problems I'm solving at Quantum Bell are assisting in the health of this particular area, where the United States of America has built some sort of strange operation around the community members or its citizens. Been working for over 18 years and with various persons or parties to record and document the end of a species, if it makes any sense. Across this town, I just want to note that some of the factors that I've been working with include the communications buried in the ground on Creek Lane and the communications buried in the ground on Timber Creek. And these are an interesting asset to adjust and to cross also Wolverine. Now, if you're familiar with this, I'm not going to get too heavy into comic book terminology or natural terminology, whether it's like a spider hunter bird or a spider, or relative natural characteristics of either or across any other elements, whether it's media or other sorts of it's usually not wise to talk directly about a problem. And in this particular instance, the problem actually creates a pattern in the ground. So not all communities are affected the same, so depending on where I work. So this would be a targeted area, And across this area, you know that I found 17 targeted precincts. So where the United States government and the police departments have indicated that it is apparently, they're not putting up any resistance, if it makes any sense, to these problems being deployed, which permits us to use these lines either under the precincts or under the schools or under the communities, and as supported by officers with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement or across other agencies that might use them to kill deviants, whether it's, you know, pedophiles or homosexuals, queers, niggers, Saudis, or Muslims, or Islam, or anything other than Christian white men, if it makes any sense. What we've done at Quantum Bell is identify a way to locate these problems, associate them with the health of the people, and then learn to resolve them. Now, this is correlated across a larger problem of some sightings that I had in the sky, which helped me found Quantum Laboratories as part of this. And if you know anything about me, I am a dangerous person to confront when it comes to any sort of electrical or technological application to a community, and relative to the symptoms that they present. And for example, the sticking power of spider webs. These people, for example, in downtown Daytona Beach, they sleep on these lines. My dog will crap along these lines. He will dig a hole and sleep in a hole along these lines. And you know, the homeless people downtown, they stick around them, and it makes them sick. So kind of like the cities, like Los Angeles or New York City, these people don't want to leave the cities, and it's because I'm gonna break it down without getting into the technicals of what I do here. And what I try to discern is when they leave the cities and they go into the woods, their heads are too quiet. Does it make any sense? They want to go back to the city. And men were raised in an environment where we were ourselves. We were original, we were unique, we were not on what's known as an electromagnetic leash. So some of the issues created here, and what you're looking at here, you probably cannot see it with this particular camera, but I'm pointing right at the power meter. And then over there is the cable systems and telecommunications, the satellite dish. We have the electrical grids coming on the home. I have an array, which is using to ground a radio load. And across the other issues, whether they're subterranean or orbital, so that, I mean, correlated across either airborne Wi-Fi, radio networks, or cellular networks, or other problems of the humans. And what I'm doing is attributing a direct problem to a larger problem, which is a transient cosmic signal, which is faster than light, and this is expected to have some sort of increasing signature or a non-relevant signature as we approach what's a nominal light speed across a 15,000-year light path. So as we reach union, there's a chance these people are going to be hurt by something I'm trying to solve. Now, coincidentally, this problem was created by organized crime, whether it's in the United States government or a foreign government or our militaries or even among our communities, and I'm able to use this problem. I'm able to solve this problem, and I expect I'll be able to correlate a problem from this transient cosmic signal across you know, a species or an affected people where it might be applicable. Now, some of these problems I've discovered are not necessarily man-made. And a lot of what is experienced seems extraterrestrial or ghostly, and some of the elements which are presented here some of them are remarkable. However, because they're used by organized crime or dangerous organizations within one government or another, it requires not only enforcement, but it requires an ability for our company at Quantum Bell to locate these problems, understand the symptoms of the community or the building, the result of, and then to begin to isolate those problems, whether it's to ground the loads, ground radio loads, or to ground other sorts of problems in the area, and then also to deal with issues of magnetism or electromagnetism. And this is Michael Marley with Quantum Bell, and I'll get back to you in a little bit.